Could get 100 on the diploma. Okay, so today we're going to be doing 2, like I said, but this is going to be the only time. The rest are all going to be single. But today I'm doing the double one because we didn't have a quiz first, right? Tomorrow you're going to have a quiz to write, and then we'll be going through the next one, right? And then, so they're much shorter than this. But this was the second and third unit we did. The polynomial unit we did first, but we're going to do that tomorrow. Now, yours has the actual question there, I'm hoping, right? Yeah. Okay, so this is log 8 of 64 equals x. Okay? Yes, I am recording. Now, okay, so we're all watching, not talking. Give me a way to be able to solve this. Yes? In your calculator. Okay? Do you remember that? Okay, so put it in quick. What do you get? You get 2. Now, there's another way. A couple other ways. Yes? Put it into exponential form. What would this be in exponential form? Okay, I'm still, Kayla? 8 to the x equals 64. Okay? Remember, base stays where it is, and these two trade. Do you remember that? 8 to the what equals 64? 2. So you can see where x equals 2. There's a third way to do this question. Yes? Well, that's using your calculator. Let's do it a non-calculator way. I taught you this trick. Okay? Yeah? Oh, nice. So log 8, 8 to the 2. Do you remember that? Where does third level go? What's log 8 to 8? Okay? So if you get this one wrong in the diploma, there's a problem. Because I'm assuming you did it one time, you did it wrong, and you left early. Unless you have 3 check marks beside every question, you haven't done your diploma properly. You should do every single question 3 times, right? Okay, now we have log 1/4 is 16 equals x. Okay, now we can just put log 16 over log 1/4 in, right? We know that. And we will get the answer -2. We can also change this to exponential because the 1/4 would stay x equals 16. Now, this, I don't know if I always get confused which course was which though, but did we do this where you could turn this around and make that -x? Okay, so we flip it. So okay, well this would be 4 to the -x will equal 4 to the 2. Do you see how 16 is 4 to the 2? So now, if the bases are the same, these must be the same. So -x equals 2, divided by -1, x equals -2. Okay, you could also take this, and this would be log 1/4 to the 1/4 to the -2. Which would give you the answer -2. Okay, so there's kind of sometimes, I mean, if you look at it, there's almost 4 ways to do that question. Okay, so what did we go through here? A, how to put it in our calculator. B, remember how to change from log to exponential, right? It's It's coming back to you, right? Again, maybe something you didn't think that you forgot, but maybe going from log to exponential you forgot. Remember, base stays the same, the other two trade. Okay, now write, this is really a pain that this is all falling off. 6 to the 108 minus log 6 of 3. This was log 4 plus 2 log 5. Okay? Now, this is what it might be just asking you this. Often the diploma won't ask you to evaluate. It'll say write as a single logarithm. Now again, don't yell it out. Let's start putting up some hands here. Who remembers how to do that? You can hear the little cricket in the background. Okay? You see, it's probably good we're doing review. Yes? Okay, right now some people are going, what did she just do? Who remembers that rule? That when they're the same base, subtraction of two logs means division. So it came from this, log b to the a minus log b to the b equals log b to the a over b. So 108, see, someone just found it on their study sheet, right? The what? Quotient. Quotient law, yeah. Okay, so this is log 6 of 36. You should be able to look at that. What's the answer? No. 2. This is log 6 of 6 of 2, which equals 2. Now that log 6 of 6 of 2, that's not in the curriculum. That's something I've just taught you as like a trick. But it could come in handy on the diploma. Okay, everybody sees where I got the 36, right? 108 divided by 3. Okay, now B. B has one little quirk to it before you get going with the product law. Okay, you can't do it with this here. So what do we do with it? Move it right up. Do these have a common base? 10. See, there's invisible 10s there. Remember that? Okay, so this would be log 10 of 4 times 25, right? Because that's what 5 squared is. This would be log 10 of 4 times 25 is 100. So this would be log 10 of 10 to the 2, which equals 2. Okay, anytime you're like, what are you doing? Just put up your hand, okay? Don't freak out. Yes? Because 100 is 10 squared. And I know that if I keep these the same, the third level will always be the answer. Now you could just put log 100 divided by log 2 into your calculator and get it as well. Or 10, I should say, and you'll get the answer too. This is just something I've taught you because they don't teach it to you in the 30-2 curriculum, but it will sure help you if you can check some answers that way, right? Having a little bit more knowledge doesn't hurt. Okay, now this log 8 of 146, that's just a matter of putting log 146 over log 8. Now they could have something this simple, just to put in your calculator, and it might be a numerical response, right? So you would get 2.397. Now, it wouldn't be that if it was numerical response. Well, if they were really nice, they wouldn't have a diploma. I don't know. Okay, the pH of a solution can be determined by. So here's the formula that you have. again, we're going through these, right, to take away that kind of anxiety. Now it says, here's what this is really important. The pH of a solution is px. So basically, we're saying this, pH equals negative log x. So it says determine the pH of the solution giving the ion concentration. Okay, because it says x represents the hydrogen ion concentration. So you don't want to give this one up on the diploma because it's just a matter of putting 0.005 in for x. So you would go, the pH equals negative log 0.005. You'll get a pH of 2.3. Okay, so you have to hit the negative sign log 0.005. Now, black coffee has a pH of 5 and bleach has a pH of 13. In terms of their hydrogen ion concentrations, how much more acidic is the black coffee than the bleach? Now, this one, do you guys remember what the 5 really stands for? It stands for the exponent. So it means 10 to the 5. And bleach is 10 to the 13. And if you did this, this is 10 to the, remember since they're the same base, what do you do with the exponents? You subtract, that would be 10 to the negative 8. Okay, Tony, there's no need for a phone out. Now, what if you did it this way? And you got 10 to the 13 over 10 to the 5. You get 10 to the 8, right? But as long as you say that, okay, the pH is 5, so black coffee, or just coffee. Now, which one would be more acidic? No, which one would be more acidic? Why? Okay, so something a pH of 1 is very acidic, right? So coffee is 10 to the 8th times more acidic than bleach. Okay, because remember, 10 to the 1 is acidic. 10 to the 14 is basic, right? Yeah, 7 is a neutral substance. Okay? Yeah?
You said that both ways of doing that were acceptable. Why would that be if you get...
Well, you just have to say, put it right. Like, I would still say that coffee is more acidic, right? So it'd be 10 to the 8th times more acidic. Just keep it straight that the coffee, you wouldn't want to say the bleach is 10 to the 8th times more acidic than coffee. Okay? So the 10 to the 8th helps you, right? The negative actually says it's acidic. Right? But if you did it the other way, you should still know that 5 is more acidic than 13. No, they'll have something like this statement here as one of them to pick. They would do it as a statement. Or they would just have coffee is times more acidic, and they wouldn't, yeah, I don't even think they would ask this exact type of question. What they'll do is they'll ask something more like this. They've got an earthquake in Haiti, measured 7 on the Richter scale. Remember, those stand for what? The exponent. Okay? And an earthquake off Indonesia is 9.1. Now, which one is more powerful? Indonesia. Okay? So which one? So if we put the 10 to the 9.1 up top, over the 7, we will get 10 to the 2.1, which equals 125.89. Now, does it make sense that Indonesia is more times stronger than Haiti? So you just want to be able to... Now again, they're not going to trick you. They're not going to try and trick you. Okay. Now this one here, again, looking for hands. How would you solve this one? You turn your page into your diploma, you get this question. How would you solve it? Any ideas? There's more than one way to do this. I'd like to hear them all. I don't know if I would go log format for this one. There's one way. Okay? And it's funny how many of you guys gave up questions on the last test because you didn't y1, y2 them. Right? You know the numerical response that I gave you? You could have y1, y2'd them. Yep. Yeah, the third one is the one I would recommend doing it the most. No, it isn't. You put it in your I had other students that were doing it, and they were getting it. So it's learning how to put it in. In y1, put 7 to the x. In y2, put your bracket, 1 over 49, shut the bracket, and then you have to hit, well, I guess I'll even do it like you got to hit that button. For this, you have to hit the exponent button and put the exponent in brackets. So if you don't know how to use your tool, yeah, it's not going to work for you. That's your exponent button on your calculator. Okay? Now, when you do that, yeah, well, you're going to find intersection, right? Okay, so just try it out. Austin, you should try it too. Okay, maybe we'll find what kind of things are causing issues if students aren't getting it. And then you have to hit second, intersection, and then enter, 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 right? Okay, what are we getting? -2. Now, here's another way to do this one. Now, this is 7 to the x. This is the same thing as 1 over 7 squared to the x plus 3. 7 to the x equals, I can flip that. If I flip that, that would be 7 to the -2 x plus 3. Oh yeah, second trace. Now, when your bases are the same, you want to multiply this -2 to both these, and you'll get x equals -2x minus 6. Now I want to get all the x's together on the same side, so I will add 2x here, add 2x, and I'll get 3x equals -6. Then I'll divide both of these by 3, and I'll get x equal -2. Okay. How about 3 equals 8 to the 2x minus 1? How can I solve that? Turn it into log form. What happens when you turn to log form is these two trade, right? So I'll have 2x minus 1 equals log 8 of 3. Remember, the base stays where it is. Now, without putting log 3 divided by log 8, which I could do right now, let's keep going. How could I get x by itself? Add 1 to both sides. So if I add 1 to both sides, then I have that. Then divide this by 2 and all of this by 2. So x would equal log 8 of 3 plus 1 all over 2. Or there's always trusty y1 equals 3, y2 equals 8 to the exponent, bracket, 2x minus 1, and then find intersection. Which part, Tane? Okay, is this coming back to you? Sort of remember it? Hopefully it's not totally new. Yeah, x equals 0.764. So if that was a written response, 0.77 is the most you could put in, because a point takes a blank, right? Okay. Ahmed invested $1,000 for 4 years into an account that pays 3% compounded annually. Determine the function expression. So this might be a multiple choice where they just want to see if you can find the right one. Now, if we remember this formula, A equals P times 1 plus I to the n. Right? Okay, so determine the models V. So V, this is what we call the principal, right? It's the initial we put in. So we have 1,000 times 1 plus interest is 0.03. And we're going to divide that by 1 because annually. Yes, we got to remember that. N is for 4 years, and we're going to multiply by 1 because it's annually. What were the other numbers? What was 2? Semi-annual. Okay. What were all the other ones? So what went with monthly? So 12 was monthly. Monthly. 52 was weekly. Daily. Oops. There's 52 weeks in a year. Quarterly was 4. Yeah, that's a good one. We should have that one in there. It's quarterly. 365 was daily. Okay? So this is the one that you're going to mess with. If they say weekly, I put a 52 and a 52 here. Do you remember that? Okay? So be prepared for one of those in the diploma. Most likely they won't ask for the answer. They just want to see which one would be the appropriate setup. But you know how to put that into your calculator anyway. You get 1125.50. Okay, like I said, this notes takes, we got 2 more questions left. This takes a little bit longer than all the rest will because this is 2 topics. Okay, we've gone through all the log rules, exponent rules, right? We've gone through applications. Here's one more. From 1997 to 2008, the population of a town grew at the average rate of 5.4% per annum. During this 11-year period, so 11-year period, its population P can be modeled using P equals X, 1 plus R to the N, where X is the population in 1997. That's huge. okay? Because if you look in our question, they ask, what's the population in 1997? So I need to find x, right? It says R is the annual growth rate. N is the number of years since 1997, which is 11. They told us up here. And in 2008, which is 11 years, that's the population, 14,030. So what's P? 14,030 equals, what's X? We don't know it. What is R? Says R is the average annual growth rate. Right there. 0.054. Make sure you're always changing to decimal. And what is N? Which is 11. Now, how would you solve this when there's always y1, y2, okay? But what's the fast way to solve this without y1, y2? It's actually just one step. You want x by itself, right? So divide by 1.054 to the 11. I did. 1.054 to the 11. Yeah. And you will get 7,867 equals x. Okay. Now the last one is definitely going to be on the diploma. All these are going to be on the diploma. 125, 0.78 to the x, and this is y equals log x. Now, or 25 log x, sorry. They want to know. They want you to find the x-intercepts of each, the number of y-intercepts, the end behavior, remember that? The domain, the range. Okay? So, well, first of all, try not to go off memory. Okay? Try to go off common sense. So, if it was me, I would graph this thing. So, and a good window setting, well, is the one that comes standard on your calculator. Well, actually, you'll see when you hit zoom fit, it actually works better to go 0, 2000, comma 1 to be able to see everything. But let's go through this one as if I was a student just coming across this one on my diploma. Okay, remember plot 1 should not be on. Students said, well, fine, they'll get an error. So all I'm going to do is go 125 times 0.78 to the exponent x. And I'm going to hit zoom 6 because that's the standard that it comes with. Okay, and that's always unnerving when students get this. They're like, I'm not getting anything. My calculator broke. They always think their calculator's broken. That's the first thing. So, when in doubt, hit zoom, fit. It'll get you looking at something. Now, zoom fit does such a nice job, it gets me. Now, if I go to window, check what's that? See, it's negative 10, 10, 1, and x, y min is 10. Now I wouldn't go, I would have something in the negative, like I'd even go like negative 5, so I could really see where's it going through the x-axis. And I made this like 2000, just to even see it better. But I can clearly see it's not going through the x-axis. Okay, so do a rough sketch. Before you start anything, you want to make sure you do a rough sketch. Or you can just take screenshot and then paste. Well, no one says you can't bring your smartboard with you. Okay, so let's ask some questions here. X int, none. Does everybody see? It is not going through. It's going to cruise along forever, but it's not going through. How can I prove it on my calculator? Anyone remember? No, no, I wouldn't go with that. You could try that, yeah, but y2 is 0, because then I'll see where they meet. And then if I go second trace, 5, enter, enter, enter. Oh, it's still graphing that original. See this line? That's bad. It means I have just... Usually you have to shut it off. This is good this is happening. Okay. If you give it too many things at one time, it makes it crash. You guys have never had that happen to you? Yeah, well. Okay, so no sign change. So no intersect, okay? Now, what's the y int? How do you find that? No. No. Yep, exactly. So, well, I got two people talking. You just have to, well, you don't go second trace. So, you just go trace, 0, enter. Now, why did I go trace 0? Doesn't the y-intercept always happen when x is 0? And trace, when you hit trace, it means you get to put in any x you want. It'll give you the y. Okay, so write that down, right? Are you writing that down? That's something you need to have on a study sheet. And you will find out, you guys, when you walk out of that diploma, when you go, oh, I couldn't get that one, I couldn't find the y-intercept for that one, and someone go, why didn't you just hit trace 0? Right? And you'll know right there. Like you'll have to, I just didn't study well enough. Right? So yeah, we forgot a lot of this stuff. That's why we're doing this, right? That's why it's going to be in your new study sheet. This is for your final exam. So this would be the cover page of my 8. I would have my 8 stapled together. This would be the cover page. This would be the one that has the stuff that, right? You have the other ones to refer to at all time. Now look at the domain. What's the domain? X is in the reals. What's the range? Y is greater than 0. What's the end behavior? Okay, because this goes 1, 2, there's 3 down here, and 4. Remember? So we always talk about left to right. It's all coming back to you, right? So left to right. So end behavior, no. 2 to 1. Always go left to right. I just went through that. Go from left to right. Okay, so now we're going to do y equals 25 log x. Now again, there's two skills here. Number one, do you know how to read from your calculator? But number two, do you know how to get where you can see it in your calculator? Okay, so I have found that if you hit zoom 6, it does get your calculator back all the time. I'll hit zoom 6 before I start the problem, because if you go zoom fit off the last window settings, it messes with it, okay? So let's put it in. 25 log x. Okay, and then hit graph. Okay, now that one was really nice to us. Sometimes you're going to see it, sometimes you're not, right? So again, right, you want to draw it. Yeah, you know what, and no one's going to tell you to draw it in your diploma. They're not going to say that, right? But it sure is the best thing to do, because you can write on it, right? Now, remember how the exponential and the logs, a lot of things traded. Do you remember that? Now, what is our x int? Look, I'm looking right at it. How can you say none? Okay, well, how do you find that out? So y2 is 0. Then hit graph. And it's doing its thing. You can't really tell. It just drew a line along here. Then second trace 5, enter, enter, enter. Okay. Okay, get your spider closer. It didn't give me anything until I moved my spider a little bit closer. It's a very lazy spider. Reminds me of a couple of you guys. X equals 1. Did I say that out loud? Oh. Okay. So remember, y1 is 25 log x, y2 equals 0, and we're going to find intersect, right? The y int. Okay, there's y0. That doesn't look like it's going through there. Just be careful, because even if you say it, Yusuf, you might think it, and they'll have 0 for you to circle in the multiple choice, right? What is the domain? X is greater than 0. What's the range? Okay. What is the end behavior? So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going from 4 to 1. Okay, so basically I took a month of classes, right, and tried to do a review with you. But, right, it's not over, right? You want to spend the rest of the period, so if you turn... Oh, no, we're not done yet. Crap. Okay, there's regression. Okay. Now, instead of doing these, let's just talk about all the things that we had to talk about. Now, to do regression, what's the first thing we did? Okay, what's that? But that's when we get to trig, and we would be in radians, weren't we, when we were doing... No, you're doing trig regression. This is... No, unless you're using sine, cos, or tan, doesn't matter what mode you're in. Okay, so how do we put this stuff into our calculator? So stat, edit. This is L1, L2. They'll be very specific with it. Okay, so we put all those in there. Then, how would we get the equation? This says exponential regression. It wants the equation. How did we do that? You went stat, calc. There it is, right? Oh yeah. If it wants R values, it wants to tell us we have to turn our diagnostic on. Do you remember that? So go second. Okay, so right down here, do you see where I am? Right down here. And then you just hit down until you get to... And we got to be very... So it'll say diagnostic on. And if you hit enter, it's not done yet. And I've made this mistake before. You get going and you still don't get it. You're like, what? I turned it on. You have to hit it one more time so it says done. So diagnostic isn't on until it says done right after. Okay? And I've made that. I mean, it looks good. Diagnostic on. Woo, what more do you need, right? Move on, right? But no. Then you're like, what happened? It didn't turn on. So you got to go one more time. So let's get this. Make sure diagnostic is on. And that's where we go to catalog. and then diagnostic on. Okay, so we do stat edit, we put in L1, L2, then we would go stat, calc, and we would go exponential regression. Okay, once you get that, to get it into y equals, you would hit y equals. Now make sure stat plot is on. Okay, how did we do that? When you go to y equals, go all the way up, and where it's blinking, you need to hit enter and then go down after. Well, I actually didn't put all that data in. But how would you get this equation in here? You would go, you hit y equals, then you hit vars, then you go down to statistics, hit enter, then go EQ, regression equation. Okay? Lots. So first of all, we hit y1, then what do we hit next? Vars. Then stats, then, okay, so we went to EQ, right? So yeah, you can go right to EQ, and then we're doing regression equation. Okay, now in this one, if you are, see how L1 is like your x? This will be your y, okay? When you're looking for an x, or sorry, when they give you the x, population 10 years, how do you find the y? So if given x, you hit trace. Very good. You have to hit trace up. And then 10. Okay, that's how you would do that. Now what if given y? What do? Yeah, so y2 we would put, when did the population double? Okay. Now it actually, when you go to it, it comes to 201 is what it started. So you would put y2 as 402 because you started at when you get your equation. By the way, your equation is y equals 200.798 times 1.088 to the x. So this, remember, this stands for your initial, right? So this is 201. So it says if it doubled, y2 would be 402. And then you have to find intersection. Okay, and you'll have a chance to find this in the work. Okay, now the next one is just another regression equation. The only thing is this is x and this is y. Now they're going to be really good about it. They shouldn't be messing with you. I mean, the only one is, remember a log regression equation, right? So you're going to use ln reg instead. That's 9. Okay, so we use ln reg. Everything else is the same. Okay, so I want you to get right at page 42. To 45. Now, maybe you want to do page 45 first, so you can practice the regression equations, and then move backwards. Okay, so work on page, so these are diploma questions. Like I said, we went through easily a month of information in one period, right? But hopefully some stuff came back to you. right? You feel like you could write this part of the diploma a lot better now than you could have an hour ago. Okay, then it was worth it. And you know, what would be scary is if you missed this class, right? That's a lot of studying that the person that missed just doesn't have, right? So go through this, make sure your study sheet now. Remember, you're 1 page of the entire year. What belongs on that study sheet? Okay, and just to be clear, I apologize. Yeah, you start left. Start left. No, we said that, okay? Okay, start left. You know, it's in some course that makes sense, but to put an 8 here just seems weird with an 8, right? Like you're always taught with your place values, right? Put your 8 there, your 8,000 would go there, right? So I find it really unintuitive for, that's why even I knew the rules and I was like, I want to put 8 here. It just, that's where 8 starts and 28 should go there, right? We move over. Okay, so let's get working quietly. I don't know. I got people talking. Okay, let's go. You guys have stuff to do and you're talking. Can you turn the light on there for me, please?